clone consoles. So this is a Retron5. For the uninitiated, this is a clone console. One of those consoles that has like a bunch of ports, bunch of cartridge slots, and you can play really games from any of those consoles. It basically just runs Android with a stolen copy of RetroArch. Basically just an emulator console that won't let you run your own ROMs because they don't want to get sued, even though they're, using stolen emulators. It's less likely they'll get sued by those guys than they will Nintendo, so don't let the user run their own ROMs. Yeah. Something like, I think it's called the Polymega now, is pretty similar to this, though the emulation is probably better, and it costs over $500. Someone actually made custom firmware, which is on this SD card, and today we're going to be trying to install that. And you need a regular size SD card. For some reason, micro SDs don't work. And basically what the custom firmware lets you do is it lets you dump your own ROMs, like save them to the SD card, not just dump them, run them in the emulator, and then delete them like the thing usually does. And it lets you run your own ROMs off the SD card. A few years ago, I tried installing custom firmware on this thing, and it just didn't seem to take. It didn't brick it, which seems to be very common with these things, installing custom firmware. It'll just randomly brick. So that's something to look forward to. But yeah, hopefully I can get it working. Maybe I used a micro SD, but apparently that just stops it from booting entirely, so I don't know. But I got a Famicom game, Armadillo. Let's see if it runs. Yeah, it worked. Hopefully the SNES slot isn't just fucked. Something cool about the Retron 5, and basically every clone console these days, you don't need to use the shitty controller it comes with. You can use a different shitty controller. I would have used my nice SNES controller, but I couldn't find it. And I didn't feel like looking for it. It's an emulator box. What are you expecting? It plays old games. The only interesting thing is it plays them off the cartridges and not off an SD card. Like, it's an emulator box. What more is there to say, really? So, for installing the custom firmware, I'm following the RetroRGB guide. I will link it in the description. As I always do with videos like this, I want to give a disclaimer. This is not a video guide. I am probably not doing it right. I am probably going to brick this thing on camera and have to fix it. This is not a video guide. Do not watch my videos expecting to see someone doing it properly. But with that said, here we go. Let's break my Retron 5. You do actually need the wired controller for the recovery menu. I do have, I think it's RetronFreak 2.5 image to the SD card. And it did not boot up to their system recovery menu. Okay. It begins. The SD card should be imaged. Okay, there we go. Booted to the recovery menu. Okay, cool. I don't know if this is actually recording. The preview window is kind of freaking out. So I'm just going to narrate what I'm doing. Yeah, the capture window is absolutely freaking out. So I'm just going to narrate what I'm doing. So I have to go to factory reset. Yeah, wipe data, factory reset. Apparently that makes it less likely to break. Run RK image. Update RK image from external storage. So it says update image complete. Reboot the console and pull the SD card from the Retron5. So I'm not getting anything on the TV. Did I just brick it? I think I may have bricked it. Oh no, I didn't brick it. It booted. RetroFreak. Cool. Cool. I think this might be the firmware from, like, another clone console. Wow. Yeah, I think this might be, like, the firmware from another clone console. I did not realize that. Yeah. I did not realize this was just the firmware for the RetroFreak, which is another one of these clone consoles. I think it's like a Japanese one that I'm guessing runs very similar hardware because this is just that thing's firmware. Like, that's all this is. Okay, so this isn't gonna come across in the video. Maybe I'll put some text up, but there was an absolutely monstrous jump cut here. And yeah, I was having an issue where it would be in factory test mode, and it was just every time it booted, it was defaulting to like default settings. So it would be in Japanese, and it would detect the cartridge at first. Then I would go in, change some settings, mainly English text, and then it would suddenly think there was no cartridge. And I was kind of like just circling back over and over trying to get it working. And then I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna Google it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone else was also trying to do this. Because I was kind of assuming there wouldn't be enough people doing this to really get me enough troubleshooting Reddit threads, right? But no, I came across a Reddit thread from someone who deleted their account. I would credit you, but you deleted your account. I'm sorry. Where they were having the exact problem I was. So the way they fixed it was reinstall the custom firmware, wipe the console, and reflash it. And then suddenly it just worked again. And that's what I ended up doing. I also kept this SD card out of it. I set up a micro SD for FAT32 and put that in instead. And it seems to be working now. I was able to rip Armadillo. I don't know if it's encrypted or not. As, you know, the RetroFreak would encrypt games. And I don't know if this custom firmware gets past that. I don't know. And frankly, I'm not sure I really care. I'm just glad to have it working. So I don't think I caught it, but I put in the cartridge and it prompted me, hey, do you want to install this game? You can play it off the SD card without the cartridge. I said yes, and there it is. So let me just take the cartridge out. And then still thinks the cartridge is in there, I think. Maybe Maybe that's just how the menu works, but no controller that is mapped to player 1. I mean, I'm using a Genesis controller. I'm using a Sega Genesis controller. What do you mean? System playing. Controller used. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So what? I just did that. Game... Any controller 1. It's a Genesis 6 button, I think, actually, yeah. I don't know why I said 3 button. I don't know why I selected 3 button. It's actually a 6 button. It's a really shitty aftermarket 6 button. But it's a 6 button. I wonder what playing, like, Street Fighter 2 would be like on this thing. Not the Retron 5. This controller. Also, I just realized I never muted the TV. So you can just hear the audio, and I have to accept that. But, yeah, it plays. And, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to really use this. This is just something I've been wanting to have set up for a number of years. Even though it's completely irrational, I'm probably never really going to get heavy use out of this thing. But it's cool. It's neat. I am driven towards things like this because they're impractical. And it's just kind of an I just think they're neat value. Even if, like, I'm probably not going to keep this thing hooked up, like, permanently. It's not going to find a place in my setup, I don't think. The Atari VCS has, however. Yeah, I have an Atari VCS. And it found a place in my setup, and yeah, its time is coming. It will get a video someday. But, you know, things like this, I just find them neat. And having, you know, custom firmware on this makes it a whole lot neater. And probably a lot more useful. Maybe I'll actually hook this thing up occasionally.